Kaylani stood frozen in the doorway of her mother's apartment, staring at the man sitting on their worn brown couch. The same couch where she had cried just 3 weeks ago, confessing to her mother about the impossible feelings she had for her boss. The same boss who was now holding her mother's hand. Yoon-seok looked up, his dark eyes meeting hers with polite curiosity. He didn't recognize the devastation spreading across her face. Why would he? At the office, she was just another employee. Invisible, forgettable. "Baby, you're home early," Rania said, standing up quickly. Her voice had that nervous edge that Kalani had never heard before. "This is Hyun-seok, the man I've been telling you about." The man I've been telling you about. Those words hit like a sledgehammer. Kaylani's fingers tightened around her purse strap until her knuckles ached. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run. Instead, she forced her lips into something that might pass for a smile. "Nice to meet you," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Yoon-seok stood, extending his hand with that same professional courtesy he showed everyone at the office. "The pleasure is mine. Your mother speaks of you constantly. She's very proud." His hand was warm, strong. The same hand she had fantasized about reaching for hers across conference tables and during late-night work sessions. Now it was pulling away, returning to her mother's shoulder with casual affection that made Kalani's stomach turn. "I need to change," Kaylani said abruptly, turning toward her bedroom. "Honey, I made your favorite dinner." "Stay and eat with us," Rania called after her. Kalani didn't answer. She closed her bedroom door and pressed her back against it, sliding down until she sat on the floor. Her chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing her ribs from the inside. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. 3 weeks ago, everything had been different. Kalani had been working at Kim Tech Solutions for 8 months. It wasn't glamorous, just data entry and administrative work, but it paid better than anything else she could find with just a high school diploma. She was saving for college, saving to give her mother an easier life. Rania had raised her alone, working double shifts as a nurse to keep them afloat. Kalani had watched her mother sacrifice everything, romance included, to make sure she had everything she needed. Then Hyun-seok had happened. He wasn't like the other executives who paraded through the office. He remembered names. He said thank you. When Kalani stayed late to fix a filing error that wasn't even her fault, he had noticed. Brought her coffee, asked if she was doing okay. That was all it took. One moment of genuine kindness, and Kalani had fallen like a stone into dark water. She knew it was hopeless. Hyun-seok was 14 years older, a billionaire who had built his tech company from nothing, a man who lived in a different universe than hers. He had a strict policy about workplace relationships. Everyone knew it. He barely looked at women at the office beyond what was professional. But knowing something was impossible didn't stop the heart from wanting it. Kalani had started noticing everything about him, the way he rolled up his sleeves when he was frustrated with a problem, how he spoke Korean on the phone with his family in Seoul, his voice softer and warmer than the crisp English he used at work, the rare smile that appeared when someone on his team succeeded. She had lasted 2 weeks of carrying this secret before breaking down and telling Rania. Her mother had listened the way she always did, patient and understanding, sitting on that brown couch with her arm around Kaylani's shoulders. "Baby, I know it hurts," Rania had said gently, "but some men are just fantasies. It doesn't mean you won't find something real." "I know it's stupid," Kaylani had sobbed. "I know he'd never look at someone like me. I'm nobody to him. But Mama, when he smiles, it's like the whole room lights up. When he talks about his work, you can see how much he cares. He's not just rich and handsome, he's good. Actually good. Rania had stroked her hair. Then he's lucky you see that in him, even if he doesn't see you the same way. But sweetheart, you can't build your life around a man who doesn't know you exist. You deserve someone who sees you, really sees you. Kailani had nodded, wiping her tears, trying to be strong, trying to move on. She had no idea that her mother had already met him. Now, sitting on her bedroom floor, Kalani tried to piece together the timeline. When had it started? How had they even met? A soft knock on her door made her jump. Kalani? Rania's voice was gentle. Can I come in? I'm tired, Mama. Baby, please. Kalani stood up and opened the door. Her mother looked worried, her brown eyes searching Kalani's face. At 38, Rania was beautiful in a way that made people look twice. She had the same deep brown skin as Kalani, the same full lips and high cheekbones. But where Kalani was all sharp edges and guarded walls, Rania had a warmth that drew people in. Apparently, it had drawn Hyun-seok in too. He's gone, Rania said. We need to talk. I don't want to talk. Kalani, I know this is hard, but... Hard? The word came out sharper than Kalani intended. Mama, that's him. That's Hyun-seok, my boss. The man I told you about. Rania's face crumpled. I know, baby. I know. You know? Kalani stepped back. What do you mean you know? I didn't realize at first. When you talked about your boss, you just called him Mr. Kim. You never said his full name. And when I met Hyun-seok, he mentioned he ran a tech company, but I didn't put it together until the second date when he told me the name. Kim Tech Solutions. And you didn't stop seeing him? Mama, I told you how I felt. I tried. Rania's voice broke. Kehlani, I swear I tried. I told him I couldn't see him anymore, but he kept showing up, kept asking what he'd done wrong. And I couldn't tell him the truth, because what was I supposed to say? That my daughter works for him and has feelings for him? That would humiliate you at your job. So, instead, you just kept dating him behind my back? It wasn't like that. I was trying to figure out what to do. I was going to end it today. That's why I invited him over. I was going to introduce you and then tell him we couldn't continue. Was going to? Kalani caught the past tense. Rania looked away, tears streaming down her face. Kalani, I love him. I didn't mean to. I didn't want to. For 20 years, I never let myself feel this way about anyone, because you were my priority. You were everything. But he made me feel alive again. Like I was more than just your mother. Like I was a woman who deserved to be wanted. The confession hit Kalani like a physical blow. She had never considered that her mother might be lonely. That all those years of sacrifice might have cost Rania more than just money and sleep. So what now? Kehlani asked, her voice hollow. You choose him over me? I'm not choosing anyone over you. I could never. But Kalani, you said yourself he doesn't see you that way. He doesn't even know how you feel. Can't I have this one thing? The one thing I wanted. The one thing you can't have. Rania's voice rose, desperate. Baby, I'm not stealing him from you because he was never yours. I know that sounds cruel, but it's the truth. Your feelings for him are real, but they're not mutual. What he and I have is mutual. Kehlani wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Her mother was right. Hyun-seok had never looked at her the way he looked at Rania tonight. He had never touched her hand or smiled at her with that soft affection. To him, Kehlani was just an employee. Barely even that. I need you to leave, Kalani said quietly. What? Not the apartment, just my room. I can't do this right now. Rania reached for her, but Kalani stepped back. The hurt on her mother's face was almost enough to make her take it back. Almost. Okay, Rania whispered. Okay, we'll talk tomorrow. After she left, Kalani lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling. She didn't cry. The pain was too deep for tears, a wound that went straight through her chest and out the other side. Monday morning came too soon. Kalani thought about calling in sick, but they needed the money. Student loans didn't pay themselves, and neither did rent. So she put on her professional clothes, braided her hair into a neat crown, and went to work. The office was busy as usual. Kalani kept her head down, focusing on her tasks, praying that Hyun-seok wouldn't notice her. He usually didn't, but today was different. Kalani, can I see you in my office? She looked up to find him standing by her desk. Her heart stopped. He had never asked to see her privately before. Never even said her name with that much attention. Of course, Mr. Kim. His office was on the top floor, all glass walls and expensive furniture. Kalani had only been inside twice, both times to drop off documents. Now she stood in front of his massive desk while he sat down, looking at her with an expression she couldn't read. I wanted to talk to you about something personal, he began. No. I'm dating your mother. I know. I met you at the apartment, remember? Of course. I wasn't sure if Rania had told you before that. She's very private about her personal life. He leaned forward, his hands clasped on the desk. I want to make sure this doesn't create an uncomfortable situation for you at work. If you'd prefer, I can arrange for you to transfer to a different department, or even a different branch. Same position, same pay, no negative consequences. He was trying to be considerate, trying to make this easier. He had no idea that every word was a knife. I'm fine here, Kalani said stiffly. Are you sure? I know this must be strange. Mr. Kim, my mother's personal life is her business. It won't affect my work. Something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or approval. You're very professional. I appreciate that. But Kalani, if you ever feel differently, my door is open. Thank you. She turned to leave. One more thing, he said. I care about your mother very much. I want you to know that my intentions are serious. I'm not playing games with her. Kalani looked back at him. He was watching her with such earnest sincerity that it made her want to scream. This was the man she had fallen for. The good, honest, respectful man who was now promising to take care of her mother. That's good to know, she managed. Then she walked out before she fell apart. The weeks that followed were torture. Kalani went to work, did her job, and went home to an apartment that felt different now. Rania tried to keep Hyun-seok's visits too when Kalani was out, but sometimes their schedules overlapped. Kalani would come home to find him there, sitting on the couch, looking at her mother like she was the most fascinating woman in the world. Sometimes Rania would talk about him at dinner, or her face glowing with happiness that Kalani hadn't seen in years. She would catch herself and stop, apologizing, but the damage was done. Kalani stopped confiding in her mother, stopped sharing her day or her dreams. A wall grew between them, invisible but solid. At work, Hyun-seok started noticing her more. Not romantically, just as a person. He would ask how she was doing, compliment her work. Once, he even invited her to join a team meeting because he valued her input. It was everything she had wanted 3 months ago. Now it felt like salt in an open wound. The breaking point came on a Friday night. Kaylani came home early from a shift that got cut short and found her mother in the kitchen, cooking an elaborate meal. Candles were set on the table. Soft music played from the speaker. "Are you having a date here?" Kaylani asked flatly. Rania turned, looking guilty. "Hyun-seok is coming over. We're celebrating 3 months together. Baby, I asked if you'd be home, and you said you were working late." "I was supposed to. Plans changed." "You can stay. Join us. He asks about you all the time. He wants to get to know you better." The thought of sitting through a romantic dinner, watching them together, made Kalani feel sick. "I'll go to Maya's," she said, referring to her best friend. "Kaylani, please. I don't want you to feel like you have to leave your own home." "But I do, don't I? This is your space now, your life. I'm just in the way." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" Kaylani grabbed her jacket. "You got what you wanted, Mama. You have a man who loves you, who sees you. Now, congratulations." She left before Renaya could respond. Maya lived 20 minutes away in a studio apartment that was barely big enough for one person, let alone guests. But she took one look at Kalani's face and pulled her inside without questions. "Talk," Maya ordered, handing her a soda. Kaylani told her everything. About Hyun-seok, about her mother, about the impossible situation that was tearing her apart. Maya listened, her dark eyes wide with disbelief. "Girl, that's like something from a movie, a really messed up movie." "I don't know what to do. I can't hate my mother for being happy. She gave up everything for me. Don't I owe her this?" "You don't owe anyone your heartbreak," Maya said firmly. "Your feelings matter too. You're allowed to be hurt." "But she's right. He was never mine. I never even told him how I felt. I don't have a claim on him." "Feelings don't work like that. You can't just turn them off because they're inconvenient." Kaylani leaned back against the couch. "I think I need to leave." "Leave where?" "The apartment. Maybe the job too. I can't keep doing this, Maya. Every day is like drowning. I see him at work and I have to pretend I'm fine. I go home and watch my mother fall deeper in love with him. It's killing me." "Where would you go?" "I don't know. I'll figure it out. Get a roommate situation, find a different job. Anything has to be better than this." Maya grabbed her hand. "If you need to crash here while you look for a place, you can. It's tiny, but we'll make it work." For the first time in weeks, Kalani felt like she could breathe. "Thank you." She stayed at Maya's that night and the next. When she finally went home on Sunday afternoon, Rania was waiting. "We need to talk," her mother said. She looked exhausted, her eyes red from crying. "Okay." They sat on opposite ends of the couch. The space between them felt like miles. "I've been thinking about what you said," Rania began. "About this being my space now and you being in the way. Kalani, that broke my heart. You are not in the way. You will never be in the way." "Mama!" "Let me finish. I know I've been selfish. I know I've been so caught up in my own happiness that I didn't see how much you were hurting. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "You don't need to apologize for being happy." "Yes, I do. Not for being happy, but for putting my happiness above your well-being. You're my daughter. You come first. You always have." Kalani felt tears burning her eyes. "But that's not fair to you either. You deserve love. You deserve someone who treats you well. I just wish it wasn't him." "I know." Rania moved closer, taking Kalani's hands. "I've made a decision. I'm going to end it with Hyun-seok." "What?" "No. It's the only way. I can't lose you, Kalani. I won't. If being with him means losing my relationship with my daughter, then he's not worth it." Nobody is. Kaylani stared at her mother, seeing the determination mixed with devastation in her eyes. Rania meant it. She would actually give him up. And somehow, that made everything worse. Mama, don't. Please don't. I have to. No, you don't. I was being dramatic and selfish. I don't want you to give up the first real relationship you've had in 20 years because of me. You're not being selfish. Your feelings are valid. So are yours. Kalani pulled her hands away, standing up. You love him, really love him. I can see it every time you talk about him. Mama, I've never seen you this happy. How can I be the reason that ends? Because you're my daughter, and I love you more. The simplicity of that statement made Kalani's tears finally fall. Her mother loved her more. More than happiness, more than romance, more than everything. I'm going to move out, Kalani said softly. Baby, no. Not because I'm angry, not to punish you, but because I need space to get over this. I need to not see him all the time, at work and at home. I need distance so I can heal. And so you can have your relationship without feeling guilty. Where will you go? Maya said I can stay with her until I find a roommate situation. I'll be fine, Mama. You raised me to be strong, remember? Rania stood up, wrapping her arms around Kalani. They held each other like they were drowning, neither one wanting to let go. I never wanted this, Rania whispered. I never wanted to hurt you. I know. If you need me to choose, I choose you. Always. Don't choose. Just let me figure this out on my own. They stood there for a long time, holding on to each other and the fragile pieces of their relationship. The next week, Kalani packed her things. Not everything, just enough to make Maya's tiny studio feel even tinier. Rania helped, both of them moving in heavy silence. This feels wrong, Rania said, folding one of Kalani's shirts. You shouldn't have to leave your home. It's temporary, just until I get my head straight. Will you still come to Sunday dinners? Of course, Mama. But they both knew it wouldn't be the same. Kalani didn't tell Hyun-seok about the move. Why would she? But somehow he found out anyway. On her last day at the apartment, he showed up. Kalani opened the door to find him standing there, looking uncomfortable and concerned. Behind her, she heard her mother's sharp intake of breath. Hyun-seok, what are you doing here? Rania asked, moving to the door. I heard Kalani was moving out. I wanted to talk to both of you. This isn't a good time, Kalani said. I know, but please, just 5 minutes. Against her better judgment, Kalani let him in. The three of them stood in the small living room, the air thick with tension. Hyun-seok looked at Kalani first, then at Rania. I'm not blind. I can see that my relationship with your mother is causing problems. I don't want to be the reason this family falls apart. You're not, Kalani said automatically. I think I am. He turned to Rania. You've been different lately, distant, and now your daughter is moving out. This is my fault. It's not that simple, Rania said quietly. Then explain it to me. Help me understand. The silence stretched out, painful and sharp. Kalani could see her mother struggling with what to say, how much to reveal. It's complicated, Rania finally said. Family dynamics are complicated. Hyun-seok studied them both, his intelligent eyes missing nothing. Does Kalani disapprove of me? No, Kalani said quickly. Too quickly. Then what is it? This was it, the moment where everything could come crashing down. Kalani could tell the truth, confess her feelings, and watch the humiliation spread across his face as he realized his young employee had been harboring a pathetic crush. Or she could lie, protect herself, and let her mother have this. She chose her mother. I just need my own space, Kehlani said, forcing her voice to stay steady. I'm 20 years old. Living with my mom while she has a boyfriend is awkward. That's all. It's not about you. Hyun-seok looked unconvinced, but didn't push. If I've done something to offend you, you haven't, I promise. You've been nothing but respectful. He nodded slowly. Okay. But Kehlani, I meant what I said at the office. If my relationship with your mother makes your work environment uncomfortable, I can arrange a transfer, no questions asked. I appreciate that, but I'm fine. Another lie. She was getting good at those. After Hyun-seok left, Renaya turned to Kehlani with tears in her eyes. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to protect me. Yes, I did. He loves you, Mama. I could see it on his face. He was ready to walk away if that's what we needed. But you love him too, and I'm not going to be the one who ruins that. You're not ruining anything. Oh, baby, you're so much stronger than you should have to be. Kehlani hugged her mother one last time before picking up her last box. I learned from the best. 3 months passed. Kehlani settled into life at Maya's apartment, finding a rhythm in the cramped space and late-night conversations. She went to work, kept her head down, and avoided Hyun-seok as much as possible. When they did interact, she was professional to the point of being cold. Sunday dinners with Renaya continued, but Hyun-seok was never there. Renaya made sure of it, carving out that time for just the two of them. They talked about everything except him, dancing around the elephant in the room. Kehlani could see the toll it took on her mother. Renaya looked tired, stretched thin between two parts of her life that couldn't coexist. She smiled less, laughed less. The glow that Hyun-seok had brought out in her was fading. It made Kehlani feel like a monster. You need to stop doing this, Maya said one night, watching Kehlani scroll through her phone without really seeing it. Doing what? Punishing yourself. You moved out. You gave your mom space to be with him. But you're still miserable, and now she's miserable too because she knows you're miserable. Everyone's just miserable. What am I supposed to do? Just get over it? Maybe. Or maybe you need to actually deal with your feelings instead of shoving them down and pretending everything's fine. I am dealing with them. By avoiding him at work and making yourself small every time he's in the room? That's not dealing, that's hiding. Kehlani threw her phone on the couch. Fine. What do you suggest? That I go confess my feelings to my mother's boyfriend? That'll go great. I'm not saying that. I'm saying maybe you need to actually let yourself grieve. You lost something, even if you never really had it. You're allowed to be sad about that. I am sad. No, you're numb. There's a difference. Maya was right, but Kehlani didn't want to admit it. She had spent so much energy trying to be strong, trying to do the right thing, that she hadn't let herself actually feel the loss. Every time the pain got too close, she shut it down, boxed it up, and moved on. But feelings didn't work like that. They didn't just disappear because you ignored them. That night, alone in the small corner of the studio that Maya had cleared for her, Kehlani finally let herself cry. Really cry. Not the angry tears or the frustrated tears, but the deep, soul-crushing sobs of someone grieving something that never was. She cried for the fantasy she had built around Hyun-seok, for the relationship that existed only in her head, high for the mother-daughter bond that felt fractured and wrong now, for the girl she was before all of this, who looked at her boss and saw possibility instead of pain. When the tears finally stopped, she felt empty but clean, like something toxic had finally been purged. The next morning, she went to work with clearer eyes. She saw Hyun Seok in the hallway, and instead of ducking away, she nodded in greeting. He looked surprised but pleased. "Good morning, Kalani." "Good morning, Mr. Kim." It was a small thing, but it felt like progress. Later that week, Rania called and asked if Kalani would come to dinner on a Wednesday instead of Sunday. "Why? Is everything okay?" "Yes, I need to talk to you about something." Kaylani's stomach dropped. "Are you sick?" "No, baby, nothing like that. Just come to dinner, please." So Kalani went, her nerves frayed by the time she reached the apartment. She used her key to let herself in and found her mother in the kitchen, cooking like she was preparing for an army instead of 2 people. "Mama, what's going on?" Rania turned off the stove and faced her daughter. She looked nervous, her hands twisting together. "Hyun Seok asked me to marry him." The world tilted. Kaylani grabbed the counter to steady herself. "What?" "Last night, he took me to dinner and proposed." Rania's voice was shaking. "I told him I needed time to think about it." "Why do you need time?" The question came out harsher than Kalani intended. "You love him, don't you?" "Of course I do. But Kalani, if I marry him, everything changes. It's not just dating anymore. He'd be family, so part of our lives permanently, and I need to know if you can handle that." "You're asking my permission?" "I'm asking if you're okay, because if you're not, I'll say no." Kaylani stared at her mother, this woman who had given up everything for her, who was still trying to put her first, even now. The urge to say no was overwhelming, to ask her mother to walk away, to choose her one more time. But that wouldn't be love. That would be selfishness. "Mama, I can't be the reason you turn down a marriage proposal from a man you love. That's not fair to either of us." "Life isn't fair, baby, but this is my choice. I need to know you'll be okay." "I don't know if I'll be okay," Kalani admitted. "Honestly, I don't know. The thought of him being my stepfather makes me want to throw up. But I also can't watch you give up your happiness because I can't get over a crush." "It's more than a crush. Don't minimize your feelings." "What else can I do with them?" "He's yours, Mama. He chose you. And maybe that's how it should be. You deserve someone who looks at you the way he does. Like you're the only person in the room. Like you're magic." Rania's eyes filled with tears. "You deserve that too. Maybe someday, but right now, this is about you. So if you want to marry him, marry him. I'll figure out how to deal with it." "You're sure?" "No." "Yes." Rania pulled her into a hug, holding tight. "I love you so much. More than you'll ever know." "I know, Mama. I love you too." They stood there in the kitchen, holding each other like they could somehow fix everything with just this closeness. But some things couldn't be fixed, only endured. 2 weeks later, Rania accepted Hyun Seok's proposal. The news spread through the office like wildfire. The CEO was getting married to the mother of one of their employees. People whispered about it in break rooms and sent Kalani curious looks. A few brave coworkers asked if she was excited about the wedding. Kalani smiled and said yes, lying through her teeth. Hyun Seok called her into his office again. "I know this is awkward," he said, sitting across from her in the chairs by his window instead of behind his desk. A power play in reverse, trying to make them equals. "Your mother and I want you to be involved in the wedding planning. You're important to her, which means you're important to me." That's kind of you. But I'm sure you two can handle it. Kaylani! He leaned forward, his expression earnest. I'm going to be your stepfather. I know that's a strange concept given our work relationship and the fact that you're an adult, but I want us to have a good relationship, a real one, for Renia's sake, if nothing else. The kindness in his voice was unbearable. He was trying so hard to do the right thing, completely unaware that every word was a knife. Mr. Kim, Hyun-seok, please, we should probably stop with the formalities outside of work. Hyun-seok. She forced herself to say his name, feeling it strange on her tongue. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but the truth is, this is complicated for me. Not because I don't think you're good for my mother. You are. But because the dynamic is weird. You're my boss and my future stepfather. That's a lot to process. I understand. Take all the time you need. Just know that I'm here when you're ready. She nodded and left his office feeling worse than when she went in. The months leading up to the wedding were a special kind of torture. Renia tried to include Kalani in the planning, but every dress fitting and venue visit felt like attending her own funeral. She went through the motions, smiled for photos, and pretended this was all normal. Maya was her lifeline, listening to her vent and reminding her to breathe. You're doing an incredible thing, Maya said after a particularly brutal cake tasting where Kalani had to watch Hyun-seok feed her mother samples. Most people wouldn't be this selfless. I don't feel selfless. I feel like I'm dying inside. Grief feels like dying. But you're not dying. You're surviving. That takes strength. Kaylani wasn't sure about that. Surviving felt a lot like just going through the motions until the pain became background noise. The week before the wedding, Hyun-seok approached her at work again. I have a favor to ask, he said. It's okay if you say no. What is it? Your mother wants you to be her maid of honor, but she's afraid to ask because she thinks it might be too much for you. Of course she did. Renia was always thinking about Kalani's feelings, even on her wedding day. Tell her yes, Kalani said. Are you sure? She's my mother. Of course I'm sure. That night, Renia called her crying. You don't have to do this, Renia said through tears. I don't want you to feel obligated. Mama, who else would stand up there with you? You've been by my side my whole life. Now it's my turn. I don't deserve you. You deserve everything. The wedding was small, just close friends and family. Hyun-seok's parents flew in from Seoul, elegant and reserved. They looked at Kaylani with polite curiosity, probably wondering about the young black woman who would be their son's stepdaughter. Kaylani smiled and bowed slightly, using the basic Korean greeting Maya had helped her learn. Hyun-seok's mother's face softened at the effort. The ceremony was beautiful. Renia wore a simple white dress that made her glow. Hyun-seok couldn't take his eyes off her, his face full of such open love that Kalani had to look away. She stood beside her mother, holding her bouquet, watching the man she had feelings for marry the woman she loved most in the world. It was surreal, painful, but also, in some strange way, right. Renia deserved this. Deserved someone who looked at her like she hung the moon. During the vows, Kalani felt tears sliding down her face. Renia saw and reached out, squeezing her hand. The gesture said everything. I love you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Kalani squeezed back. I love you too. It's okay. Be happy. At the reception, Kalani gave a speech that she had written and rewritten a dozen times. My mother is the strongest person I know, she began, her voice only shaking slightly. She raised me alone, working herself to exhaustion to give me a good life. She taught me what sacrifice looks like, what real love looks like. And for 20 years, she put her own happiness aside for mine. So when I see her this happy, this in love, it means everything to me. Hyun Seok, you're getting an incredible woman. Take care of her the way she's taken care of me. Love her the way she deserves. Welcome to the family. The room applauded. Hyun Seok wiped his eyes. Rinya was full-on sobbing. Later, during the dancing, Hyun Seok approached Kalani. Dance with me? He asked. I don't think that's appropriate. Please, just one dance. There's something I need to say. Against her better judgment, she let him lead her onto the dance floor. His hand was light on her waist, professional and careful. They swayed to the slow music, surrounded by other couples. Thank you for your speech, he said quietly. It meant a lot to both of us. I meant every word. I know this hasn't been easy for you, the whole situation, and I want you to know that I see it. I may not understand all of it, but I see that you're struggling and you're still here, supporting your mother. That takes real character. If only he knew what she was struggling with. If only he understood that every conversation with him was agony because she still felt the pull. Still noticed the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, or how his voice got softer when he talked about things he cared about. I love my mother, Kehlani said simply. So do I. That's something we have in common. The dance ended, and Kehlani stepped back quickly, needing distance. She spent the rest of the reception at Maya's side, watching her mother glow with happiness and telling herself this was worth it. After the wedding, Rinya and Hyun Seok went on a honeymoon to Jeju Island. Kehlani had the apartment to herself for 2 weeks and spent most of it sleeping and trying not to think about them together. When they returned, everything changed. Rinya moved into Hyun Seok's penthouse, a sprawling space in the city with floor-to-ceiling windows and more rooms than 2 people needed. She asked Kehlani to move in too, to take one of the spare bedrooms. It doesn't feel right, living in all this space while you're cramped in Maya's studio, Rinya said. Please, baby, come home. But Hyun Seok's penthouse wasn't home. It was his space, his life, and the thought of living under the same roof as him, watching him and her mother be married, Xian was more than Kehlani could handle. I'm okay where I am, she lied. Kehlani, Mama, you have a new life now, a husband. Let me have my independence. I'm 20 years old. It's time anyway. Rinya looked hurt but didn't push. Work became even more complicated. People started treating Kehlani differently, knowing she was the boss's stepdaughter. Some were friendlier, trying to get on her good side. Others were colder, assuming she'd get preferential treatment. Hyun Seok went out of his way to be fair to the point of being harsh. He never gave her easy assignments or special privileges. If anything, he held her to a higher standard than everyone else. It should have helped. Instead, it just reminded her daily that she was connected to him in this weird, permanent way that neither of them wanted. 6 months into the marriage, things came to a head. Kehlani was working late on a Friday, trying to finish a project before the weekend. Most people had already left. She was alone in the office, or so she thought. You're still here. She looked up to find Hyun Seok standing by her desk. He had loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves. He looked tired. Just finishing up, she said. You've been working a lot of late nights lately. So have you. He smiled slightly. I'm the boss. It's expected. But you're entry level. There's no reason for you to be here at 8 on a Friday night. I like to do good work. I know you do. You're one of my best employees, Kehlani. Your attention to detail is remarkable. The compliment caught her off guard. He rarely praised her directly. Thank you. I mean it. I've been thinking about promoting you. There's an opening in the marketing department that I think you'd be perfect for. No. He blinked. No. I appreciate the offer, but no thank you. Can I ask why? It's a significant pay raise and more responsibility. Because everyone will think I only got it because I'm your stepdaughter. They already treat me differently. A promotion would make it worse. Who cares what they think? You've earned this. You care. That's why you're harder on me than anyone else. That's why you barely look at me at company meetings. You're so worried about showing favoritism that you go the opposite direction. And I get it, I do, but I don't want a promotion that comes with an asterisk. Hyun-seok was quiet for a long moment. You're right. I have been harder on you, not because I doubt your abilities, but because I'm trying to maintain professional boundaries. I know. It's not fair to you. Nothing about this situation is fair to anyone. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Hyun-seok studied her face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Keilani, can I ask you something? Sure. Why do you avoid me? Not just at work, but at family dinners, at holidays. Your mother tries to bring us together, and you always find a reason to leave early or not come at all. Have I done something to offend you? This was it. The moment she had been dreading. She could keep lying, keep hiding, or she could tell him at least part of the truth. You haven't done anything wrong, she said carefully. You're a good man, a good husband to my mother. But yes, I avoid you, because seeing you with her is hard. Why? Because I wanted her to myself for 20 years, and now I have to share her. Because you have money and success, and you can give her things I never could. Because you make her happier than I ever did. Because everything is different now, and I don't know where I fit anymore. It wasn't the whole truth, but it was true enough. Hyun-seok's expression softened. Keilani, you don't have to compete with me. Your mother's love for you is completely different than her love for me. You're her daughter, her whole heart. I'm just the man lucky enough to love her too. I know that up here. Keilani tapped her head. But knowing it and feeling it are different things. I'm sorry. I didn't realize this was affecting you so deeply. It's not your fault. And I'm working on it. But that's why I need distance. Why I can't live in your penthouse or accept promotions from you. I need to figure out who I am, separate from being Renia's daughter and your stepdaughter. He nodded slowly. I understand. But Keilani, you're always welcome in our home. And if you ever want to talk about anything, I'm here. Thank you. After he left, Keilani sat in the empty office and wondered if she had said too much or not enough. That weekend, Renia showed up at Maya's apartment. We need to talk, she said. Did Hyun-seok tell you about our conversation? He did. And baby, I had no idea you felt like you were competing with him. You know you could never be replaced, right? I know, Mama. Do you? Because it sounds like you're punishing yourself for me being happy. I'm not punishing myself. I'm trying to adapt. By pushing us both away? Keilani felt her defenses rising. What do you want from me, Mama? I gave you my blessing. I stood up at your wedding. I've been nothing but supportive. You've been polite. That's not the same as supportive. Keilani, you don't come to family dinners anymore. You skip holidays. You moved out and barely visit. You're treating us like strangers. Because I need space. Space or punishment? Maybe both. The admission burst out of Kalani before she could stop it. Maybe I'm angry, okay? Maybe I hate that you're deliriously happy while I'm still trying to figure out how to get through a day without feeling like my heart is breaking. Maybe it's hard to watch you live this fairy tale when I'm barely surviving. Renia's face crumpled. Oh, baby, why didn't you tell me? Because you deserve to be happy. You deserve this. And I'm trying so hard not to be the bitter daughter who ruins it for you. You could never ruin anything for me. Kaylani, your happiness matters just as much as mine. Does it? Because it feels like I'm the only one who lost something here. You gained a husband, he gained a wife, and I lost my mother. You didn't lose me. I'm right here. Are you? Because when's the last time we had a Sunday dinner that was just us? When's the last time you called me just to talk? Everything is about him now. Your life is about him. And I know that's how marriage works. I know I'm supposed to be mature about this, but I'm not. I'm 20 years old and I'm struggling, and I feel completely alone. Renia pulled Kailani into a fierce hug. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought giving you space was what you needed, but I was wrong. We need to fix this. How? However we need to. Sunday dinners, just us, no Hyun Seok, weekly calls, whatever you need. I'm still your mother first. I should have made that clear from the beginning. They held each other, crying and talking, until Maya's tiny apartment felt less suffocating. For the first time in almost a year, Kalani felt like maybe, just maybe, things could be okay. But that fragile hope shattered 2 weeks later when Kalani walked into Hyun Seok's office to drop off a report and overheard him on the phone. Yes, we're trying, he said in Korean, not realizing she was there. Renia wants a baby. I'm not getting any younger, so we're hoping it happens soon. Kalani backed out of the office silently, her heart in her throat. A baby. They were trying for a baby. Of course they were. They were married. They were happy. Why wouldn't they want to have a child together? But the thought of her mother having another child, having Hyun Seok's child, felt like the final nail in a coffin Kailani hadn't known she was building. She would be replaced, not just emotionally, but literally. Her mother would have a new child to focus on, a child with the man she loved, a child that would bind them together forever in a way that was different from Kailani. She made it to the bathroom before the panic attack hit. Maya found her there 20 minutes later, hyperventilating in a stall. Breathe, Maya commanded. Kalani! Sheen, breathe with me. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Slowly, the panic subsided enough for Kalani to explain what she had heard. Okay, Maya said calmly. That's a lot. But you knew this was a possibility, right? They're married. Knowing it's possible and hearing it are different things. Fair. So what are you going to do? I don't know. I can't tell my mother I don't want her to have a baby. That's insane. But you also can't keep all of this inside. Kailani, you're going to explode. What choice do I have? Maya grabbed her shoulders. You have choices. You can talk to your mom. You can get therapy. You can quit this job and find something else so you're not seeing him every day. You can actually deal with your feelings instead of white-knuckling your way through life. I'm scared. I know. But being scared is better than being destroyed? That night, Kalani made a decision. She started looking for other jobs, not because she wanted to leave Kim Tech Solutions, but because she needed to. Every day, there was a reminder of what she couldn't have. And if she was ever going to move on, she needed to not see Hyun Seok 5 days a week. She also made an appointment with a therapist, using the mental health benefits her job provided. If she was going to survive this, she needed help. And most importantly, she called her mother and asked for a Sunday dinner. Just the two of them. Renaya arrived with groceries and hugged Kailani like she hadn't seen her in years instead of weeks. "Well, I've missed you," Renaya said. "I've missed you too, Mama." They cooked together in Maya's tiny kitchen, bumping elbows and laughing. It felt like old times. Better than old times. Over dinner, Kalani took a deep breath and decided to be honest. "I heard Hyun-seok on the phone at work. He said you two are trying for a baby." Renaya froze. "Kailani, it's okay. I mean, it's not okay, but it's your decision. I just need to know if it's true." "Yes. We've been talking about it. He wants children, and I always thought I was done after you. But with him, I'm open to it. But baby, that doesn't change how I feel about you." "I know. But it changes everything else. You'll have a child with him. A child that's both of yours. And I'll just be the stepdaughter." "You'll be the big sister." "That's not the same." "No, it's not. But Kalani, you'll always be my first baby. The one I chose to raise alone. The one who made me a mother. No other child could ever take that place." Kalani wanted to believe that. She really did. "I'm looking for a new job," she said instead. Renaya looked stricken. "Because of this?" "Because I need a fresh start. Because working for him is too hard. Because I need to figure out who I am outside of all of this." "Where will you go?" "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out." They talked late into the night, clearing the air and rebuilding the bridges that had been crumbling. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. 2 months later, Kalani accepted a job at a marketing firm across town. Better pay, better hours, and no complicated family dynamics. She put in her 2 weeks' notice at Kim Tech Solutions. Hyun-seok called her into his office when he got the news. "Is this because of me?" he asked. "It's because of me. I need to do this for myself." He studied her for a long moment. "I'm going to miss having you here. You're a great employee." "Thank you. That means a lot." "Kalani, I hope someday we can have a real relationship. Not boss and employee, not just stepdaughter and stepfather, but actual family." "Maybe someday." "I'll take that." On her last day, the office threw her a small goodbye party. Hyun-seok gave a short speech about her work ethic and dedication. Kalani smiled and thanked everyone, feeling lighter than she had in over a year. The new job was everything she needed. It's different work, different people, different energy. For the first time since this all started, Kalani felt like she could breathe. Therapy helped too. Her therapist helped her understand that grief didn't have a timeline, and that loving her mother didn't mean she had to be okay with everything immediately. Slowly, painfully, Kalani started to heal. She attended Sunday dinners at the penthouse. Not every week, but often enough. She even had a few conversations with Hyun-seok that didn't feel forced. When Renaya announced she was pregnant 6 months later, Kalani cried. Not angry tears or bitter tears, but complicated tears that held both joy and sadness. "I'm happy for you, Mama," she said, and meant it mostly. "Thank you, baby, and thank you for being here." The pregnancy was hard on Renaya. At 39, her body struggled more than it had at 18. Kailani found herself at the penthouse more often, helping with errands and keeping her mother company when Hyun-seok was at work. It was during one of these visits that something shifted. Kailani was helping Renaya fold baby clothes when Hyun-seok came home early. He looked exhausted, his tie loose and his hair disheveled. "Bad day?" Renaya asked. "Long day. I'm going to shower." After he left, Rania turned to Kailani. He's been working too hard. I worry about him. And Kailani realized something stunning. She didn't feel the familiar pull, didn't feel the ache. She looked at Hyun Seok and saw her stepfather, her mother's husband, the father of her future sibling. Not the man she had feelings for. Somewhere along the way, without even noticing, she had let go. The realization brought tears to her eyes. "Baby, what's wrong?" Rania asked, concerned. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's actually okay. For the first time in almost 2 years, I'm okay." Rania hugged her, understanding without needing explanation. When Rania went into labor, Kailani was there. She held her mother's hand through the contractions, wiped her forehead, and told her she was doing great. Hyun Seok was on the other side, looking terrified and in awe. And when the baby finally arrived, a perfect little girl with her mother's eyes and her father's nose, Kalani felt nothing but love. "Meet your big sister," Rania said, placing the baby in Kalani's arms. Kalani looked down at the tiny face and felt her heart expand. This was her sister, her family. "Hi, little one," she whispered. "I'm Kalani. I'm going to teach you to be strong like your mama, okay?" The baby gripped her finger, and Kalani knew she would protect this child with everything she had. Later, in the hospital hallway, Hyun Seok approached her. "Thank you for being here," he said. "Of course. She's my mother." "I know, but still, it means everything to her, to both of us." Kalani looked at him and saw him clearly for the first time. Not through the lens of her crush or her pain, but as he actually was. A good man who loved her mother. A nervous new father. Her family. "I'm glad she has you," Kalani said, and meant it. "I'm glad she has you too. She needs both of us." They stood together in comfortable silence, two people who had found their way through an impossible situation. 3 years later, Kalani stood in front of a mirror in a bridesmaid dress, adjusting her hair. Maya was getting married, and Kalani was her maid of honor. "You look beautiful," Rania said, walking into the room with 3-year-old Mina on her hip. "Sister pretty," Mina declared. Kalani smiled, taking her little sister and spinning her around. "Not as pretty as you, Munchkin." "How are you feeling?" Rania asked. "Good, really good." And she was. She had a job she loved, friends who supported her, and a family that was complicated but hers. She still had moments of sadness about how things had unfolded, but the sharp pain had faded to a distant ache. She had survived. More than that, she had grown. That night, at Maya's reception, Kailani gave a speech about love and friendship and choosing joy even when things are hard. She saw her mother in the crowd, sitting next to Hyun Seok, both of them smiling at her with pride. After the speech, a man approached her at the bar. He was tall, with kind eyes and an easy smile. "Great speech," he said. "Thanks. I'm David, friend of the groom." "Kailani, friend of the bride." They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. When he asked for her number, Kailani gave it without hesitation. On the drive home, Rania asked, "Who was that man you were talking to?" "Just someone I met." He seemed interested. "Maybe?" "And are you interested?" Kailani thought about it. About the conversation, the laughter, the easy comfort. "Yeah, Mama, I think I might be." Rania squeezed her hand. "Good. You deserve that." "So do you." "I know. I got lucky." "We both did." It wasn't a perfect ending. There were still complicated family dinners, and moments when the past hurt resurfaced. But Kalani had learned that healing wasn't about reaching a destination. It was about choosing to move forward, even when the path was unclear. She had loved a man who chose her mother. It had nearly broken her. But in the breaking, she had found strength she didn't know she had. She had learned what real love looked like, the kind that sacrificed and endured, and chose joy for others, even when it hurt. And someday, when Mina was old enough to understand, Kalani would tell her the truth about those early years, about the complexity and the pain, and the choice to love anyway. Because that's what family did. They chose each other, over and over again, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. What would you have done in Kalani's position? Would you have been able to support your mother's happiness, or would you have asked her to choose? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love dramatic love stories like this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We post new stories every week that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. See you in the next story.